Hello everyone, Koji here. I'm here after a few months because I'm gonna keep working on Vale. I'm gonna resume my work on it. I haven't posted anything because I have just not worked on it. But well, let's get to it. Here is Vale in Google Maps, the main reference for it. And since it's been a long time, I guess 3 months, something like that, I haven't worked on it. I need to bring back the momentum I had. And for that, I need to choose to work on something that should be easier just to get things going. Looking at things, I think I'm gonna work on these arches right here. These are one of the main features of the layout. We'll show it in the map. Let me go. This is the zoo map, right? Okay, this is one of the main features of the map, these arches right here. And I need to do them kind of custom because I did do the stone textures like this for the walls, but they are a bit limited. I've done it here using those textures, some mesh in editor inside CS2. I've done it as meshes. These stone trims, right? They do have a bit of a outwards protrusion, but they use really just the texture, that this texture right here. It's limited on that. But if you do look at the references, for these arches, these stones have to be shaped in a way that, well, it supports an arch, and also it makes so that the stones on top work better. So I need to make a custom texture just for this arch. So it has to be done through 3D modeling, right? And even the inner arches as well, it works the same way. You can see here, right? It's a construction way that works like that. Similarly to how on top of the windows the stones are straight, because the wood beam here supports the stones above, and then since the wood beam is straight, the stones here at the bottom usually tend to be straighter. Here didn't use a wood beam, but you can see that there is a kind of a different pattern to the stones whenever there has to be a different opening or support structure. When it's just a straight out wall, it's just random stones, right? This is good stuff to know because you understand better how the construction technique works, right? I'm trying to give my line of thought on why I'm working this way. I find it really useful to understand why things happen and why the specific things work or are constructed like that, you know. So basically I'm gonna do this arch. I'm gonna use the Substance Designer texture template for the same textures I've used here. I will just change, I'll basically do a model for these stones in Blender using the map geometry, and then with that modeled structure I can have a height map that they will feed into Designer and be able to texture the same shapes, custom shapes as I'll do here, with the model I have on Designer, the same kind of Designer texture. I hope that's clear, but we will be able to do that better as we model. But well, here are the zoo map, the assets I've done so far. I've done a few wood textures, the stones, the tiles. I think they're all, yeah, these were all done at the time lapses so far until the 5th one. And then with all those textures and some of the existing asset library from Counter-Strike, I was able to do a few props that will be used, general use props. I can paint the blended textures, like they're all blended textures. And well, I have the trash bin, I have a bench, I have a light posts, I have the stones, right, for edges, some doors that are open. I think this one's supposed to be opened. It fits exactly where on the map I need. Then just some decorative doors using existing assets and the ones I did, and with a few variations, of course. So you have the door, and then there's the frame. There's the frame with the trunks, and there's the frame that's supposed to be used on the stone with stones, which are these on the side. Then on windows, same principle. You have a few variations that you can have a lot of variety. But well, now with all these assets here, the arch I'm gonna do today is gonna be one of those. They will complement the whole asset library for me to start working in the actual map. So let's start working. For us to start, let's get the reference geometry, right? I'm gonna get this arch, this, and this, just to be sure. They might be a different size, right? If they are, we will have to fix it, because ideally we would need a single asset for the arches, and one for the smaller ones, these smaller ones. I go to export selected. I will go to my assets page where I leave the source assets, go to models. I'm gonna open a new folder here. I'm gonna leave it as architecture. Main arches, why not? I guess arches? Yeah, it's tough with hindsight to name it exactly right the folders, but it doesn't really matter, right? I'm gonna put just in architecture main arches. That should be good. Main arches, then I'm main arch reference. It's really good to be organized with your files, especially as your project goes on. There's more and more files, right? But again, you shouldn't worry that much about your names. As long as you can understand it, other people can, it's consistent between them and all, you know. So I have the reference, I can go to Steam, open Blender. I'm in Blender, I'm gonna open a new project, delete stuff, of course. Okay, so here's the files imported. I'm gonna delete what's not really needed. I now have just the silhouette of both arches. It should be enough for me to start working on the actual details of the stones. So after thinking a bit, I've decided to make all of the parts of this arch uniquely textured, so no part is actually mirrored. However, this arch, the single arch here should be used 4 times, and that I think explains, justifies this choice, as there's these rock separations in the middle. You can see here that some rocks go through to the other side and others don't. Others have two rocks, two stones, they're split in the middle at different points as well. So that supposedly adds some variety to it. So I've done it here. And because of that, I can't really mirror this front facade to the other side, as on the parts that the stones are mirrored, while one stone will be unique, the other will be unique to the side here, but the continuation of the stone on the other side won't. Therefore, if I want to have these splits in the middle, I have to have it not be mirrored. At least that's the easiest way I can think of. But since again I'm gonna use this arch 4 times, I can flip it between uses and stuff. I think this is fine. It's kind of a main piece of the map. Now I have this first arch done, and I will do the second one, which is gonna be the smaller one. So both arches are now modeled, with the stone divisions already arranged. I will now go into the zoo map to have a notion of how I extruded these stone divisions in the other existing stone trims I've done in the zoo map, where I've showed them earlier. With both arches now modeled and unwrapped, I will export the UV map to import it into Designer as a mask using the texture template, the SBS I've used for the other stone textures. This way, I'll be able to texture these arches with a unique texture, fitting the geometry that I made here, while also fitting the same style of the other stone textures. So I inputted the UV map into Designer as the height map on the existing stone textures template. I've increased the resolution to 4K as I think that will be a good enough texel density that will match the other assets on the map. And now I just have to do bake with a higher poly model of the arches to have better edges, more detailed edges, smoother. That will look better. For that, I will go into Marmoset eventually and do a bake and then import it into Designer. I'm now importing both arches into the editor to see if there's anything wrong or any issues. Then I'll just be left with the bake and applying it into the map. So with the bake done, I'm just placing them in a context similar to how they'll be used in-game just to see the end result. So sometime after making both arches, I started arting the actual map with the existing assets I've made. And while doing that, I realized that I could cut the existing arches, their geometry, while using the same texture, the same custom texture I've made just now, to have other assets other than the arches. Have, for example, a few pillars and also a cut section of the arch to put on that round door I've shown earlier in the video on top of it, right? And that wasn't actually planned from the beginning, but it makes me thankful for choosing to texture both arches with a unique texture, like a 4K texture without any mirrors, because it then allows me to do this new cut version of the arches, the pillars, as I've explained, with good texturing. And this is going to be the end result of the video. We came out with a few more assets than initially planned, which is pretty good. They'll be very useful to actually art the map in-game with the existing assets I've made. You'll soon see me doing that on new time lapses. I thank you for coming this far and have a good day.